My stepdad didn't shove me hard enough to bruise, but hard enough that the chair legs screeched against the wooden floor before I lost my balance. Hard enough that the silverware rattled. Hard enough that every conversation at the Thanksgiving table stopped mid-sentence. Hard enough that humiliation hit me faster than gravity. I landed on my palms, the rug scraping my skin. The room smelled like roasted turkey, cinnamon candles, and something sharper, like tension that had been simmering for years and finally boiled over. He stood above me, one hand still on the back of the chair he'd yanked away. "This seat is for my real daughter," he said. His tone was casual, almost bored, as if he were correcting placement cards instead of pushing a grown woman to the floor. My mother blinked at me, wide-eyed, frozen, her lips parted but no sound escaping. She always froze in moments like this, like someone hitting pause on her reactions. The rest of the family stared, forks suspended, whispers trapped behind tight lips. "My name is Lena Hart. I'm 33 years old, and on Thanksgiving night, my stepdad shoved me away from the table because, in his words, I wasn't real family." What he didn't know was that I had spent years preparing for the moment he would finally strip the mask off, and that by morning, everything in his life would tilt. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts. It means more than you know. I stayed on the floor a beat longer than necessary, not because I was hurt but because the shock felt like a slow-moving river inside my chest. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the clatter of a dish settling somewhere in the kitchen, the soft crackling of the fireplace behind me. Everything sounded too loud. Everything felt too bright. I stood up slowly, brushing the rug fibers from my hands. My mother reached toward me, but halfway through the gesture she pulled back and pressed her napkin to her lap instead, an old habit of choosing discomfort over confrontation. My stepdad slid the chair closer to his biological daughter, Emily. Emily shrank into herself, cheeks reddening. She wasn't cruel, just caught between loyalty and fear. She whispered, "Lena, I didn't ask for this." I offered her a faint smile. "I know." But my stepdad clicked his tongue. "Sit," he ordered her like he was talking to a dog. That sound, sharp, dismissive, pulled a memory from somewhere deep inside me. A drifting moment from when I was 9. I had stood at the top of the stairs, listening as he told my mother, "She's not mine. Don't expect me to treat her like she is." The hallway smelled like furniture polish and spaghetti sauce. My hands were sticky from the orange I'd peeled. I'd stood there silently, absorbing words I wasn't meant to hear but couldn't unhear. Back at the table, 33 now, I heard the echo of that same sentence. Just dressed differently. I steadied myself and reached for my coat draped over the banister. "I'm going," I said simply. A fork clattered against a plate. Someone inhaled sharply. My stepdad smirked like he'd won something. My mother whispered my name, too soft, too fragile, too late. But I had already stepped beyond the boundary of the dining room, the candlelight casting warm shadows on the hallway walls. The smell of sage stuffing followed me out, sticking to my clothes like memories that didn't know when to let go. As I reached the door, I heard my stepdad mutter behind me, "Drama queen." That was the final thread snapping. Outside, the cold air hit my face like a clean slate. The porch light flickered, weak and yellow, covered in dead bugs from summer. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and walked down the steps, each footstep crunching leaves that had collected along the walkway. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. My chest didn't cave in the way it had when I was younger and he said things he shouldn't have. Because for the first time there was no confusion. No questioning. No self-blame. Just clarity, sharp, steady, liberating. I got into my car. The interior smelled faintly of pine air freshener and the coffee I'd spilled 2 days earlier. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel as I replayed the moment again, slower this time. The push. The line about his real daughter. My mother's silence. Silence, I realized, can be its own kind of violence. My phone buzzed in my pocket, startling me. I pulled it out. A text from my stepdad. "Grow up." Another from my mother. "Please don't make this worse." And one from Emily. "I'm so sorry. Please text me when you get home." That last one softened something in me, but only briefly. I drove to my apartment, navigating the quiet streets. Holiday lights glowed softly from porches, casting reflections on puddles along the road. The air smelled like chimney smoke in winter. When I reached home, I hung my coat on the hook and sat on the couch with the lights off. The silence here felt different, gentle like it had room for me. I thought about the years I spent trying to earn a seat at a table that was never meant for me. About the birthdays forgotten, the gifts he bought for Emily but not for me, the comments he disguised as jokes. Another memory surfaced. Age 14. I had shown him my science fair project. A careful replica of a volcano I'd worked on for days. He'd looked at it, shrugged and said, "That's fine, I guess. Emily's is better." He hadn't even seen hers yet. He didn't push me then. But he pushed something inside me into silence. Tonight that silence ended. My phone buzzed again, this time with a number I didn't know. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. By the sixth vibration I finally turned it over. 6 missed calls. Then 10. Then 20. The night stretched deeper around me, the kind that makes every sound echo. I watched the notifications stack. Texts from cousins, from my aunt, from neighbors who'd heard shouting. By midnight. 47 missed calls. Panic had bloomed in the house I left behind. And it wasn't until 12:17 a.m. that my mother finally texted. "Lena, something happened. Please call me." I stared at the message, heartbeat steady. Whatever had happened in that house, whatever storm I'd unknowingly set in motion, was only beginning. And for the first time in my life I didn't feel afraid of the fallout. I felt ready. My mother's message stayed glowing on my screen for a long moment. "Lena, something happened. Please call me." Not an apology. Not responsibility. Just panic disguised as urgency. The clock on my stove read 12:17 a.m. The apartment around me was dim, lit only by the soft blue glow of my phone and the faint spill of streetlight through the blinds. Outside, a car drove past slowly, its tires whispering along wet pavement. The world felt quiet, suspended, like it was waiting for my decision. I did not call. I placed the phone gently on the coffee table, letting the echo of her words fade into the dark. The room smelled faintly of peppermint tea from earlier, mixed with the cold November air drifting in from the cracked window. The messages kept coming. Another from my mother. "Please, Lena. It's serious." One from my aunt. "Call your mom. Now." And then unexpectedly one from Emily, the girl he called his real daughter, when he shoved me away from the table. "Lena, please don't ignore this. Dad collapsed." Collapsed. The word didn't hit me with the force I expected. It didn't pierce or shatter or twist anything inside me. It landed softly, like a leaf drifting onto a still surface of water. Not painless, just distant. I exhaled slowly, my breath fogging the cool air near the window. A memory rose, uninvited but sharp. I was 13, hiding in the pantry, the smell of spices and old flour surrounding me. I'd overheard him complaining to my mother about me. "She's not my responsibility," he'd said. "If she disappeared tomorrow, my life would be easier." I remembered how my chest felt too small for my heart. How my mother didn't defend me. How quiet I stayed for days. Now years later he had collapsed. And suddenly the center of their world wasn't him. It was the absence of me. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Emily. "He's asking for you." That sentence made me pause. Asking for me? The girl he pushed to the ground in front of everyone? The stepdaughter he'd insisted wasn't real family? I picked up my coat and slipped my arms through the sleeves. The fabric was cold. My keys jingled faintly in my hand. Something about this moment felt inevitable. Not because I owed him anything, but because clarity often arrives where closure refuses to. Outside, the night was cold enough to sting my cheeks. My breath formed small clouds that vanished as quickly as they appeared. Streetlights cast warm halos on the sidewalk as I walked toward my car. Somewhere in the distance, wind chimes clinked softly. The hospital was 15 minutes away. The drive felt longer, time stretching in the quiet spaces between traffic lights. My hand stayed steady on the wheel. My heartbeat remained calm. Even in this, I didn't feel panic. Just an odd stillness. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and winter coats that had rushed through the doors too quickly. Fluorescent lights reflected on the polished floors. A vending machine hummed softly near the waiting room. Emily saw me first. Her eyes were red, her hair messy like she'd run her hands through it too many times. "Lena," she whispered, stepping toward me. "I didn't think you'd come." "I wasn't sure I would," I admitted. Her shoulders sagged with a mixture of relief and guilt. "He's awake. He keeps asking for you." For years I had prayed for moments like this. Recognition, regret, an apology whispered or shouted or even implied. But now that it was here, all I felt was a strange, steady clarity. We walked together down the hallway. The overhead lights buzzed faintly. The smell of antiseptic clung to the air. A nurse passed us, nodding gently before disappearing behind a curtain. Emily led me to a dim room. There he was. My stepdad. The man who pushed me, mocked me, dismissed me for decades. He lay on the bed, pale, and 4 line trailing from his arm like a fragile thread tethering him to the present moment. His eyes lifted when he saw me, widening, not with anger, not with superiority, but with something I'd never seen in him before. Fear. And beneath it, something quieter. Something dangerously close to remorse. "Lena," he rasped. "You came." I stepped inside, letting the door swing shut behind me. Emily stayed outside, giving us space she probably never imagined we would want. I approached slowly, each step soft against the linoleum. He swallowed hard, his breath shaky. "I shouldn't have shoved you." His voice cracked. "I shouldn't have said any of it." The apology didn't melt me. Didn't fill years of holes. But it landed gently, like rain on dry soil. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to acknowledge the drought existed. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I studied the machines around him. The beeping monitors, the faint whoosh of a ventilator in the next room. The world moved on even as ours paused. "I'm not here," I said softly, "because you asked." His eyes glistened. "Then why?" "Because Emily called me," I said. "Because she needed someone. And because leaving without facing you would have left something unfinished." He exhaled shakily, eyelids fluttering. "I was wrong about you." I nodded. "That's true." He winced, not from pain but from honesty. A long silence filled the room, the kind that pulls past and present together. Another memory threaded through me. I was 18, packing for college. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "I'm not paying a dime for her," he told my mother, loud enough for me to hear. "Not for someone who's not even mine." My mother had said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Tonight, the weight of all that silence settled softly on my shoulders. Not heavy, just familiar. I pulled a chair beside his bed and sat. "I don't hate you," I said. He blinked, startled. "But I don't belong in that house anymore." His breath trembled. "I know. For years," I continued, "you made me believe I was temporary. Tonight, when you pushed me, it finally felt true." His face crumpled. "I'm sorry," he whispered again. Something loosened in me, not forgiveness, not yet. But the beginning of release. After a moment I stood. "Emily needs you," I said. "Try to be better for her than you were for me." He nodded slowly, tears forming at the corners of his eyes. I turned toward the door. My footsteps were light. Unburdened. In the hallway, Emily hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. I squeezed her hand. "Take care of yourself." Outside, the night air tasted cleaner than before. My breath rose into the cold sky in delicate clouds. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. A streetlight flickered. Cars rushed by. For the first time in years, I felt completely, unmistakably free. If you've lived anything like this, tell your story, and don't forget to subscribe. I got into my car, closed the door gently, and let the quiet surround me like a warm blanket. Some families break you. Some moments heal you. And some nights, you walk away carrying only what's yours. Some wounds close when we leave.